One at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
Good evening, everybody. Let's talk Jets on March 5th. How about that? Time is flying. And your time is flying when I'm talking to Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7, because we do this once a year, or maybe twice a year, I think. And it's really never anything good. It's always like, well, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Hopefully we get a little bit more of the positivity, maybe going into this offseason, get a few ideas of where we could go, and hopefully start to turn this thing around.
Yeah, 100%. And thank you for for making time, dude. I know you're crazy busy and everything like that. So it's an impromptu Thursday night special. And a fun fact that people don't know is that you're actually my IT director, because when I first started doing live streams like that, I had no idea about cameras and angles and sound. And you were the guru. You spent so much time trying to help my dumbass out. And I appreciate it, man.
You're my favorite dumbass.
that's what I'm here for. It's been rough, man. So speaking of rough, the Jets head into a pivotal offseason with a lot of cap space, a lot of draft picks, and a lot of questions. And they start off with a big trade with Germaine Johnson going to the Titans. What'd you think about that trade? Did it make sense to you? And how do you feel about going forward with it?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks because I really like Germaine Johnson. I was hoping he would be here long term, but I could kind of understand the rationale for it, right? I think there was probably a little bit of remorse maybe for not moving him at the deadline when you had a second round pick on the table, reportedly. He didn't really do a whole lot from the trade deadline on through the rest of the year. He's going into a year where you're paying him $15 million on his fifth-year option. So I think it's just a situation where you saw an opportunity to get a defensive tackle that was a highly drafted top-end second-round pick defensive tackle in a position you would have had to probably draft in the top 2 or, top 4 rounds or whatever this year. 2-year contract, so you save $10 million. You get the position you need. You're in position at number 2 to get your edge rusher to replace Germaine. So it just kind of made sense, all things considered. And I really like Germaine. I mean, I think it would have been something would have been really special to keep him. But if you realistically look at this Jets team, you're probably not competing this year. And at earliest, you're competing in 2027. And are you planning to re-sign Germaine Johnson after this year? Yeah. That was probably the rationale that Muji had. I liken it similar to AVT as well. I think last year was a little bit more of their prove it year. Yep. And because AVT couldn't stay healthy and because Germaine Johnson didn't really take a big step forward, I think both guys are probably, obviously Germaine's no longer here, but I don't think AVT is coming back either.
Yeah, so you get your run stopper, which is great, but also you create a hole because now you have just Will McDonald as your pass rusher. You have that void with Germaine Johnson gone. The question I have is, can the Jets go out in free agency and get a guy to say, okay, listen, a very good pass rusher, and maybe give you some more versatility in the draft where you're not pigeonholed at number 2 saying, I have to go get Reese or I have to go get Bailey. Is there a guy out there that they can actually do that? Or no, you think it's no matter who they sign, go get a pass rusher at 2?
I mean, I think I feel like they've kind of pigeonholed themselves into the number 2 pick just because of where our team's at right now. You're either paying a massive Jets tax to bring in an edge rusher, and these guys are getting $35+ million a year. So I don't think we're going to have the appetite to do that. Now, I will say this. I think the Jets should 100% trade for Rashawn Gary. I don't know if he's going to be a cap casualty or if the Packers are maybe kicking around the idea. Dude's local from the area, played his ball at, I think it was Paramus Catholic, and had he's got 2 years left on his deal, would save them about $10 or $11 million off their salary cap. So if they're planning on cutting him, I would absolutely look to throw a pick their way and try to bring him in. At the very least, you have someone on one of the DNs that is still getting 7 to 9 sacks a year. I think he's 28 years old, so plenty of tread left on the tires. But I think we're probably locked in at edge rusher at 2, whether it's Bailey or Reese. Man, I would love to find a way to get Sonny Styles. He is by far my favorite player in this draft. It's like not even close.
Now, this is why we're friends, man. We're in the same world now. Now, I don't think you would take him at 2. Do you hope that somebody wants to trade up for a Reese, a Bailey, a Jeremiah Love, or something else? Or how would you go about getting him?
Honestly, I would take him at 2. I have no problem with it. I think he's like that Urlacher, Ray Lewis, Kuechly type of player. I think he's the same way that I felt Sauce was a statement pick at 4. You're trying to set the tone for what your team is all about. Sonny Styles fits that to a T for what you want to try and embody. And I don't think you could even risk trading down because there's a shot he might go 4 to Salah. There's a shot he might go 5 to the Giants. Yeah. So I think realistically, if you wanted Sonny Styles, you would have to take him there. And honestly, there's a pretty decent amount of pass rushers where, like, if you're feeling a little uneasy about making the transition, like, there's some other guys that I think you could like. So there's a strong part of me that hopes we have the stones to make the move and go Styles at 2. I just don't think we're going to see it. I really think it's going to be Reese.
Yeah, I'm all about Styles as well. Or like, you're right. You almost get too cute by trying to trade back and getting him and not getting him, then being forced to go somewhere else. So that's true. In terms of the defensive line, do you feel comfortable if you're going to have, say, Reese or Bailey, you're going to have Will McDonald in a contract year? Well, you pick up his option. You have the run stuffer. You have Harrison Phillips. You have Briggs. Do you feel comfortable with the D-line, or you still want to add another piece or 2 in free agency?
I mean, I'm open to the idea of adding some more guys in free agency. I don't know if it's towards the top of my need list at this point. Like, I'd probably add a few later round guys with some of our late picks here. I'd like to really address safety in free agency. I think that's where I'd like to spend big. Linebacker feels like Anzalone's coming in from Detroit. So I think you'll probably try to shore up that middle part of the defense where you couldn't get the run stopping and all that sort of stuff. Well,
they just go into linebacker position. You figure Quincy Williams, the Jets kind of screwed the pooch there because they could have traded him last year and got some value for him. Now he's going to walk. Jamie Sherwood's been a complete disaster. Not really sure what happened to him, but he fell off. I'm hoping like Salah wants him or something. You can trade Sherwood out of here. But I can make it. I almost kind of want to see the Jets get 2 linebackers. You know, I know you have Sherwood, but I think Anzalone, like you said, it's a foregone conclusion. He's going to be your coach on the field, Aaron Glenn's leader, the voice in the locker room, everything else. And the Jets need that. You need that tone setter and that culture setter. But I think you need another guy too, man. I think you need 2 legit linebackers to upgrade this defense.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think Sherwood, to me, if you can get something for him, I think I don't know what that number is that you consider moving him. We signed him to an extension this last offseason, so clearly there was something they liked about him. Yep. We didn't really have a lot of horses in the stable, both on offense or to like really manage the defense at all. So I could understand them waiting a year or maybe making a move at the deadline. But I don't know what his value is. I would bring in an edge rusher. If we're going to a 3-4, you're probably looking at, like, let's call it Reese on one side, Will McDonald or Maui Noah on the other side, and then Sherwood plus Anzalone in the middle, and then probably trying to add some day 3 guys that you could, like, hopefully groom or whatever. But man, I would love to see a situation where you get Styles, but if you bring in Styles and you have Anzalone, then does Sherwood even fit at all?
Nope.
So I just, that's where I kind of struggle on the whole, like, building of the roster.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. And then you look at the safety position where the Jets haven't had one in forever. They tried to bring in Cisco 1-year deal. That hasn't worked. They had this love affair with Tony Adams, which I would never understand ever. Right? That was just absurd. So they've been struggling at that. You have Malachi Moore, but I think you need – and the thing is, the last 2 years, there's been so many free agents that are like Pro Bowl caliber safeties that Jets refused to sign. And they weren't getting big deals. They were coming at reasonable prices. Same thing this year. Another great free agent market of safeties. How would you rank them in terms of your top 3, the guys you'd want first for the Jets?
I feel like I'm pretty open. I'll be honest. I think you could upgrade both safeties. I would take one probably in the top 2 rounds of this year's draft, and I would probably also take one in free agency. So if there's any truth to maybe Minkah Fitzpatrick coming over here, his former defensive backs coach, former local kid as well, I'm all right with that on a 1 or 2 year deal. I think Cam Curl, the safety from the Rams, would be interesting. You got Brisker from the Bears. There's a kid from the Colts that people are talking about. So there's a few guys out there, and I think I would be willing, if I were the Jets, to go like 15, to $17 million or something along those lines, and try to secure at least one bona fide starter.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge need. It's been a huge, like you said, you want to go up the middle and be more stout and just more effective up the middle. You figure you have Sweat, you have Briggs and Phillips, you feel comfortable there. If you have Anzalone and somebody else, you feel better. Then a safety position would be better. It's like just make your defense stronger. If you had to prioritize how you'd want to allocate your free agent money on defense, how would you rank everybody, like in terms of position groups?
Yeah, it's probably safety would be my number one. And then probably linebacker would be 2. Edge rusher, if you could kind of find a way to do it. Like I said, the trade for Rashawn Gary, that feels like a good move, but maybe they're going to restructure him and keep him. Maybe that's not. Maybe I'm just living in fantasy land there.
Yeah.
The main positions I'd like to kind of focus on in free agency would be bringing in some type of quarterback, bringing in some type of guard, bringing in some type of safety, bringing in some type of linebacker, and then go day 2 or tier 2, tier 3 kind of guys. Dom C likes to call it shopping in the dented can aisle.
Yeah. But do you get the feeling that the Jets can get more bang for their buck on defense and maybe look to the draft to address the offense? Because it kind of seems like the need the Jets have on offense, the free agent market isn't all that great. It's kind of scarce, and you're also competing against teams that have the same needs.
Yeah, I think in the draft, I'd like to see the Jets go relatively early on guard and then maybe like a day 3 center. Logan Jones is someone that comes up a lot in Jet circles. I think when I look towards the draft, I don't really want to go first round like Vega or anything like that, but Pregnon, if he's there in the second round, I would consider doing that. I think you have the flexibility to at least like keep Myers at center. You don't have to necessarily double dip there. So you could make do with like one interior offensive guy that might have some positional flexibility. Yeah. I'd like to bring Max Mitchell back. I think he was a decent swing tackle, has some guard flexibility on the inside. And then I don't see anyone knocking down the door for John Simpson. So I think there's a realistic shot that the Jets just kind of wait it out and they say, hey, look, you probably don't want to move. Why don't you just come back 100%. Here for, a reasonable contract. I saw someone mentioned in the chat, like linebacker wise with Bobby Okereke or whatever, however you say his name from the Giants. That could be a similar situation as well. It's one of those nice things about having the Jets and Giants in the same city is guys don't have to uproot their lives. Yeah. They might be willing to, take a reasonable deal with the competing team. So that would be an option I'd like to explore as well.
Now, what were your thoughts on the whole way that I'm kind of staying on the defense side of the ball for right now is the whole way the staff played out where Aaron Glenn, surprise, surprise, is now calling plays. My initial instinct was it was a very clumsy process. It seemed very strange. Bringing in Duker is just odd because you had one like teams call with him and boom, here's your guy when you had all these other more established people in place. What are your thoughts on how it all played out, man? It just seems very weird. I like these calling plays because you got to earn your keep here at some point. Like, you're supposed to be a guru. You watch your team fall apart last year. You watch your defense fall apart, and most of your players regress. You stood pat and didn't do anything about it. Now we're seeing what you're made of, right?
Yeah, I'm not super thrilled with how the defensive staff kind of came together. I do like, our defensive line coach. I do like our linebackers coach. Like, part of me feels like, oh, we're getting some Steelers coaches. Are we setting the table for the potential of Mike Tomlin next year? Yeah. If the cards kind of fall the right way, you have 3 firsts. If you wanted to make a trade with the Steelers, maybe that's something that you're kind of given a little bit of forethought to. I think I would say this. I think we got better coaches than I thought we would be getting based on the footing that Glenn is currently on. Like, in my thought process, it's like, oh, who would want to come here thinking you're going to be bounced one and done? So those Steelers guys probably could stand the test of time beyond Glenn if the right coach came in afterwards. And that's not to just say I'm writing Glenn off entirely after this year or partway through the year or anything, but that's just sort of the reality of how I looked at it. Yeah. As far as like the offensive side of the coaching staff goes, like, I liked bringing Reich in. I think at the very least you have someone who's been a former head coach, someone that could take the reins over if you had to get rid of Glenn, partway through the season. And I think that staff could be a little more solidified potentially if Reich was able to hang on, beyond this year. I don't know. It's a weird situation. I think a lot of Jet fans were justified in their feelings of wanting Glenn gone. Yep. But when I looked at the rest of the landscape of the NFL, and there was 9 coaching openings or something along those lines, the Jets were not going to get a premier coach. Like, if you were thinking, oh, the Jets are going to get Stefanski, oh, the Jets are going to get John Harbaugh, like, no, that wasn't going to happen. Yep. So I think the right move was 100% to keep Glenn for right now. And then you just sort of reset your deck. You've reset your cap situation after this year. You have your draft picks. Bring in talent, make this roster look more appealing, and then you got 3 firsts for next year to go out and either get your quarterback or just add more talent to the roster. So, I don't know. I kind of talked around in circles there.
But I'm the same way. It's like even if Glenn fails poorly, he really bombs out this year. Next year, this job will be super attractive when you have 3 first-round picks and a ton of cap space. Like that's you lure somebody. Listen, we gave him a second chance to rebuild his staff. He didn't do it again. You want to fire him or go to something? It's like, all right. It's somewhat more of a lucrative job. Hopefully they have more talent. Like Muji does this job, you get more talent. So you look at the offensive side of the ball. The offensive line could be a strength. You have some pieces there. A lot of people are trying to find ways to bring AVT back, and I'm kind of the opposite, where I think his price tag is not going to match his availability in terms of availability to actually playing games. Like to give him $15 million a year because, I like him as a captain. Yeah, great. He's a nice guy, leader, all this stuff. But in terms of, it just doesn't stay healthy, man. So me personally, I can't give him that kind of money. I just can't. But some people want to.
Well, I understand it too. And I feel almost similar to how I felt about Becton. And the two guys couldn't have been further apart as far as personalities go. Like AVT's a legit dude and, a great player, where Becton, was really good his rookie year and then just has been hurt. But the same way where we tried to keep putting our belief in Mekhi Becton year over year, and we kept not addressing the tackle position, and we let George Fant leave, and we let Morgan Moses leave, and we just kept trying to hope that Mekhi Becton would be the guy. If we put a lot of money into AVT and he keeps getting hurt and he's like just can't be that guy for us, like if we sign him to a 3-year deal, are you really feeling comfortable that he's going to be your starter for all 17 games? Like I'm not in that ballpark. If he wanted to sign an incentive-laden deal based on how many games he's going to play and we'll pay you like a top guard, sure, like why not? But I would still be looking to bring in at least a strong backup to fill that role potentially.
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable. Like you want like building blocks and solidify, and he's just. And again, I'm not disrespecting him. I like him as a guy, but he's not gonna give the Jets a hometown discount. He's not like he's gonna get legit offers elsewhere and go get it. Go somewhere else and prosper. Rooting for you, but I think you gotta go in different directions as the Jets. Now, do you feel comfortable having Tippmann still at guard and Myers at center, or would you look to upgrade the center position? Because it's like you can make an argument Tippmann was actually better at guard than I thought he was going to be, right? So if you solidify him there, you don't want to move him, fine. Then you want to keep Myers there, or are you looking to upgrade that position?
Yeah, I'm open to the idea of upgrading the position. I think you can allow the draft to fall to you where you're not necessarily, going out of your way. Now, if there's a situation where you could say, hey, Linderbaum, we're going to give you $100 million or whatever, and he wants to come, sure, green light, let's do it. I think the guard position is probably the one spot I'd like to address, maybe a little bit more than center right now. I thought Myers played well enough. I like the contract they brought him back on. I like the continuity across the line right now. And I thought Tippmann was a better guard. I don't think he's as good of a center as he is a guard. And let him and Membu kind of get that chemistry build in over on that right-hand side and then sort of figure out the rest of the way. But it does feel like a strength right now for a young quarterback coming in.
Now, if Simpson doesn't come back and AVT's out there, would you – it's a lot of mock drafts to have Jets going guard at 16. Was that something you'd consider?
I don't really want to. I feel like it's a lot of assets pumped into the offensive line, but there's probably a situation where I would ultimately land on that. Like Styles isn't going to be there. I think with the injury and the ACL degradation for Downs, there's a chance maybe he's there, but if he's not there, if the 3 receivers wind up not making to us, obviously the trade with the Rams probably puts wide receiver at threat at number 13. Yep. I would be open to the idea of it. I think Ty Simpson comes into play at 16. I think guard comes into play at 16. I think safety might come into play. The kid from Oregon, maybe. I don't know. Maybe there's a way you can trade down and feel a little bit better about taking Pregnon a little bit later, as opposed to, right up at the top. Because again, if you're going to keep this guy for 5 years, which would be a great problem to have, that 5th-year option is going to cost you an arm and a leg, because it's going to be similar to that of an offensive tackle. So I don't know. I'm open to it. I'm not totally shutting it down because I think it's a major need for us. And if you could get Vega, it's obviously cool because you got Olu and Vega who played together in college, playing together in the NFL. You've already seen like Instagram posts of Garrett Wilson and Olu commenting on Drew Allar. So maybe there's a situation where he comes in and there's just a lot of like chemistry and whatnot. So I don't know. I'm open to it, but not a super strong fan of it in the first.
Now, the tight end position, you have, Mason Terrell, we have high hopes for. Jeremy Ruckert coming back, who's more, he's Jeremy Ruckert, I'll just say that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like you have a chance to upgrade there. I probably would. Now, I'm a big Sadiq fan. I'm not gonna lie. I've been like all year, I'm just like, dude, this kid's amazing. Like, I don't care about Mason Taylor. Like, I'm looking, playmaker, elite, can bring a lot to the table. Are you high on him as well? Is that something you'd even consider? Like, it's a luxury item for the Jets.
No, I would definitely consider him. I think that's a number 16 pick is right in the sweet spot of where you can obviously get him. I see him a lot like between there and like maybe pick 21, 22. Yep. I wouldn't have any problem with it. I don't think it necessarily, kills Ruckert's potential or anything like that, or shames, Mason Taylor. I just think wide receiver 2 is so critical that I think a lot of Jet fans probably hyper fixate on that 16 pick. But there's a lot of guys that I think could be or will be available at pick 33 and 44 that could still address wide receiver 2 for us. So if you're just like, if I'm going into this offseason, I'm saying, what is the best scenario that we can do to create a nurturing environment for a young quarterback, or any quarterback for that matter? Let's build the offensive line and let's add weapons. Like, I don't care if we lose every game 44-48 throughout the entirety of the season. Like, solve the offensive side of the ball. Make sure you have the right coaches. Make sure you have the right players and the right environment for that room.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly what I'm saying too. It's like, I want as many playmakers as possible. So it's like, if you don't get your young quarterback this year, you get him next year, you're plugging him into a system where there's talent everywhere, and not like Josh Reynolds and Stone Smart. Like, guys, okay, listen, we have playmakers, and if they're younger, they're all growing together. Garrett Wilson's still young. Breece Hall's still young. It's like you have this core, but add it. Like, no more bargain basement shopping. No more, let's get a 5th round flyer. Nope. Add legitimate talent. And it's like, if it's a tight end, don't care. You have Mason Taylor and Sadiq, cool. Works for me. Don't care. It's just, I mean, that's kind of my mindset now. We've been so bad for so long, and I don't want to fail the next quarterback. That's the biggest sin after we watch them do it so many times before.
Well, think about the last few years of what we've done in the draft. It's like, okay, we're not going Brock Bowers. We're going Olu. We're not going Warren. We're going Membu. We're not going JSN. We're going Will McDonald. Like, there's all these offensive playmakers that we could have been adding to this team, and we've been, neglecting it and going these other directions. And I think it's time to start adding some playmakers. So Sadiq could make a ton of sense.
Yep. So now the wide receiver position, which I think every time I talk to you, we always talk quarterbacks and wide receivers. Really, it's like the last 5 years we've been doing this.
Yep.
Now you have Garrett Wilson, you have AD Mitchell, you have a lot of things you need to figure out. I think they didn't tender Mechie, I think, so that's going to be a hole for you. How do you go about upgrading? It's like, I don't like, everybody wants Pierce in free agency. I don't see him coming here. I think he can make a crazy amount of money, but I don't think, because the problem I think you have is right now the Jets don't have a quarterback. So unless they trade for somebody before the free agency starts, the first question that Wan'Dale Robinson's going to ask you is, okay, because I'll come to your team. Who's throwing me the ball? Can I get my numbers? What am I going to get? So that's going to be a problem. And you also have so many teams that are looking for wide receivers. You saw the trade today. So it's like everybody's trying to figure it out. So the market is going to be scarce, which kind of makes me think you may have to get wide receiver help in the draft. Like, do you think any, like, Dobson's going to come here? Because, it's like, I don't think these guys are going to come here.
I agree. I think you're going to have to use draft picks to get your wide receiver, whether that's pick 16, maybe it's pick 33, maybe it's pick 44, maybe it's trading one of those picks for a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. or Marvin Harrison Jr., something like that, like a guy that's on a cost-controlled contract. That would be the route I prefer to go. I don't really want to spend a crazy ton of money on wide receiver because I think you get in a weird situation with Garrett. And, if you go with a reasonable contract wide receiver in the second round, you can kind of spread your assets around, solve, issues on the defensive side of the ball, keep building out on the offense. We just have a lot of assets to spend that much on a wide receiver that's already in the league when guys are coming into the league with some really nice talent.
Yeah, that's going to be the most fascinating thing to see how they go about handling the wide receiver group, because you need them. You need the more the merrier, because you don't need one Garrett Wilson injury away from like, oh shit, here we go again. We got nobody for whatever quarterback we have throwing the ball to. So we've learned that lesson already too, which we've learned a lot of lessons these years. Now we go to your favorite topic that I know you never talk about. This is probably going to surprise you. The New York Jets they don't need one. They need 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks this offseason, which is something new for us. But you try to find one, we got to find 3. The free agent market is there. You have the trade market. Talk to me. Who do you want? Like, who's your best case scenario right now to be starting quarterback week 1?
So Malik Willis would be my first guy. That would be the first one. Yeah, I would want that. If you could tell me, hey, you could get him 2 years, 60 million or something along those lines. Like, it's you probably don't structure it that way, but like I think Willis is good. I would be on board with that. And I think it's a situation where if he shit the bed, you're still going to have good picks next year where you can still take a young guy. Like, I don't think there's any world where you could bring in a quarterback this offseason, regardless of who it is, and be in a situation where you can confidently say, I'm not going quarterback in the draft either this year or next year.
But so say he wants 3 years. Would that scare you away?
No, because it's similar to like Sam Darnold, right? Like Sam Darnold wanted 3 years in Minnesota or 3 years in Seattle. And, the Minnesota Vikings should have signed Sam to that kind of deal, because now, worst case scenario, you just have a young kid sitting for potentially 2 years. And most of these contracts are going to be, a year and a half guaranteed, maybe 2 years guaranteed anyway. So if we have to worry about some dead cap, 3 years down the line or 2 years down the line, I'm not super worried about that. I struggle to see Willis coming here anyway. I think he's going to follow Mike LaFleur to the Cardinals and play with Matt LaFleur's brother, obviously. Non-income tax state. I think there's a lot to like there. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. You got the weapons over there, and McBride, and
I gotta ask, but like, you don't think the Jets and the way their current predicament they're in, you think they're able to take out risk on a completely unproven Malik Willis after the failure of Justin Fields last year? And like, to me, I almost think they have to go to a more certain, like a more known over the unknown, especially at the price tag.
So we used to play this game in college, right? It was called, we'd go out to the bars and be all my guy friends and be like, okay, you start drinking and you're like, all right, I'm going to aim for all the 10s at the bar. And we called it the bar skank ladder. And as you go down the bar skank ladder, you wind up landing on like a 4. And you're like, okay, boom, I got my thing for the night. Well, the Jets are kind of working their way down the quarterback skank ladder right now. And if your top option is Malik Willis, then you're going to work your way down. And I don't think you're going to get any of the major players to get traded. Like Lamar's not getting traded. Burrow's not getting traded. Right. Stroud, I think there's an outside chance of, but I hope we don't give up like the assets that might be required to do that. I think we've already heard Cousins isn't in the picture. Like I said, I think Willis probably goes to the Cardinals. And then you start talking about like other guys that could be available and what do they bring? Because Glenn's going to have someone that can get him wins, and people are going to, say, oh, maybe Kyler Murray is that dude. On the vet minimum, I like the contract, but I don't love the quarterback. Like, I don't think he's helping the chemistry of that room. I think it's a dynamic player that could save Glenn's job, but it could also blow up in his face. And, Glenn has those comments from back in Detroit, kind of like making fun of, Murray for not studying or whatever. So then I start going down. It's like, okay, Tanner McKee is interesting. I think the kid, Davis Mills from the Texans, is interesting. The backup for the Bears is interesting. But what are you going to have to give up to get any one of those players? And are those teams that are in Super Bowl caliber windows really looking to move on from one of their backups? We hear the 49ers want to get a first-round pick for Mac Jones, which is banana land. Yeah. Like, I don't want to give up a top 2-round pick on any of those quarterbacks. So as I'm kind of working my way through this, and I know you commented on one of my posts, but Tua is
stop it.
$1.5 million. You don't have to have him as your starter. You can have him as your backup. I think when it's all said and done, the Jets will actually end up with Derek Carr. I think that's the guy we ultimately land on. And I don't know what his contract's going to be. I think what's going to happen is the Saints are going to go through their free agency period. They're going to spend their money. And then Carr's going to come out of retirement on that 1 year, $36 million deal. And the Saints aren't going to be able to keep him. They're going to have to cut him anyway. And then because the Jets have spent all this money in free agency, they have all the draft picks, he will be seeing the Jets as a Super Bowl contender. And that's how the spin land is going to go. And you know what? I'm fine with Derek Carr for a year or two or whatever. I think he's the perfect nurturing quarterback for a young quarterback room. I would look to go out. If you could trade for a Brissett, that would really be a great option for the New York Jets. $7 million on a 1 year deal. It sounds like Jimmy Garoppolo from the Rams could be going over to the Cardinals to follow LaFleur there. So that could be their bridge quarterback. So that could make a lot of sense. If you want to say, Andy Dalton potentially as a backup, if you could give me Carr and one other vet, similar to how the Giants did Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, and then have some rookie. It might be Ty Simpson. It could be Allar. It could be Taylon Green. It could be Sawyer Robertson, it could be Nussmeier, whoever it is. I would like to see 2 veteran quarterbacks in front of him. And Carr, to me, provides you the youthfulness of, I think he's 33 years old, 34 years old. like could have enough time if the shoulder's recovered. He didn't play well the last year. So there's a lot of volatility there, but that's the type of quarterback I want. I want someone that's very boom or bust. Like that's sort of why the Tua thing to me doesn't matter. Cheap contract. He might not be able to play well in cold weather. He might get hurt. I want quarterback in 2027 anyway. So
yeah, I mean,
does it bother me?
I can't. Yeah, like I'm out on Murray. I'm out on Tua.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the Jets, we wake up tomorrow morning and the Jets trade for Brissett, 5th round pick to get Brissett, would that take you out of the Derek Carr sweepstakes, or would you want me? I'd be like, I'd be fine with Brissett starting. If you want to go get Mariota or somebody too, like fine, whatever. Like, would Brissett be enough for you to feel comfortable, or you still want to go after Carr?
I'd be fine with Brissett if that was it. I mean, it would probably depend on what Carr wanted. Like if he wanted to come in and say, hey, I'll play for $15 million, or I want to play for, like I could see them signing Carr for like a similar deal to like Willis, where it's like 2 years, $60 million, but it's kind of a smoke and mirrors type of like contract where it's not actually worth that much. So I think Carr makes a lot of sense because he's been in the room with Garrett. He's been in the room with Breece. We saw him just before the Rodgers signing over here. Like we kind of know what he's about. They're dropping all these little hints on his podcast. Like I think they're trying to drum up some interest and whatnot. I think Woody can sell him to the team. He's already talked positively about Glenn. So it seems like the perfect marriage. And Brissett, I mean, I just think if I could, I would try to trade for Brissett first and then try to get Carr second and let those two guys duke it out.
Yep.
And then, if you have a young quarterback, cool. If not, you got two guys that I think could hold their own, and you don't necessarily live and die by one quarterback like we did this past year.
So you don't have any concerns about Carr with his coming off the shoulder issues, with arm strength, playing in the Northeast outside? Like, does that, and his accuracy was kind of bad towards the end there too. You don't have no concerns about that and paying him that kind of money?
I do. I definitely do. I just think when you're where the Jets are, there's certain players you're just not going to have the ability to try and get. Like Cousins is probably the best potential option, I think, out there for relatively cheap, could still play well. It's just a tough year to need a quarterback right now for a team that either has to overpay for a quarterback, and we have, $40 million, $45 million worth of dead cap tied up in Rodgers and eventually Justin Fields. So how much do they really want to invest? We're talking, we got like 90 some odd $1 million in dead cap. That's a third of your salary cap devoted to players that are not on the roster. So you're effectively playing with 66% of your cap. So I don't know. I think it's sort of a situation where you're just getting the guy that you can attract. And rather than like the Jets saying, oh, we're going after player A, player B, player C, and we just missed. Like, remember the Peyton Manning thing? And we're like, we swung and we missed. Now we got to pay Mark Sanchez a bunch of money to smooth over his feelings. At least if you go with Carr, you could say that was our top guy all along. We got our dude. Like he's the one that's going to lead us to wherever you want to be. Like that's kind of how I see this playing out.
Yeah, this is the most confusing situation for the Jets because a lot of these guys, other teams need quarterbacks too. A lot of teams are looking for guys, and everybody's saying the same names. And it's just, man, what's funny is this is a weird. I'll just say it. When the whole Carr Aaron Rodgers thing was going on, I actually wanted Carr. I was making a case for him, like, you know what? You're going to sell your soul for Aaron Rodgers. If it doesn't work out, you're going to eat so much cap space and so much. All his players always go, exactly what happened. Didn't work out. It was a shit show. And then Carr didn't play that well either, though, unfortunately. But I always like Carr. He's a leader. Seems like a good guy, good team guy, But now it's just like, how's his shoulder? How's his health? What kind of contract? Like I said, you think he's going to be released. I don't think they're going to trade him, right? They probably can't.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to trade him, it's going to be for a late day 3 pick. It's not going to be for a whole lot. So even if we had to make a trade for it, I'm not super concerned. I think Carr, for all the intangibles, is exactly why I would want him. I think you sort of saw the Aaron Rodgers locker room implode. And at the time, like, I liked Carr. I would have been fine if they went that direction. I always thought they weren't going to go Carr to the Jets. Like, I think Carr used the Jets. I think the Jets used Carr to try and like negotiate with the Packers a little bit more. And I thought it was a mutual understanding. And that's why I think there's a little bit of respect there. Like we may have inadvertently helped him get a nice payday from the Saints. So I like Carr coming in here. I don't have a whole lot of expectations. I mean, we're playing the AFC, the AFC West and the NFC North next year. I'm not expecting a whole lot of wins out of this team. I think Vegas has us at 5.5 wins, and I'd honestly probably take the under right now. I think 5 wins is going to be tough looking at the schedule.
I can't do it again, dude.
What teams are we winning against? You got Miami 2 times that like maybe you can capture 1 or 2 wins there. You've got the Browns, you have the Raiders, and you have the Titans. And I don't think any of us see us going into Tennessee against Robert Saleh and not having like a revenge game. Like this is probably going to be our week 1 game. I see Germaine Johnson getting a sack on whoever our quarterback is. I see whoever we pass on at number 2 for Saleh to take at number 4 to get a sack on us. Like I can see the storylines playing out already. So I'm looking for growth from the team more than anything else. I'm not seeing more than maybe 5 wins, regardless of who our quarterback is.
I can't do this again. I can't do any more years like this, dude. This team, it's like, dude, even doing content, it's like by the end of last year, I was just disgusted. I hated everybody. I wanted everybody fired. Like, I didn't even want to watch the games anymore. You half watch them while you're drinking beer because you're just over it. Like, you didn't care.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to be that year again. Like, we're irrelevant by October again, which is just like, it's like every year it's getting sooner. It's like, oh, it used to be like November. Now it's October. Now it's going to be September. I can't do it.
Dude, I'm not gonna die on this Tua Hill by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
but when I made that post, I had one guy he's like, "Do you know what Tua's record is in cold weather?" Like, hold on, the Jets played 3 games all of last year under 45 degrees. Not just at MetLife, anywhere in the country was 3 games under 45 degrees. And if you're in a situation where we are worried about those final 3 games that are going to be under 45 degrees, that is a great problem to have. We have been out of contention by like the beginning of October for like years now. Like I don't care. It does not bother me one iota. No. But Carr is still the guy that I still think we wind up with.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because I saw the one you tweeted out too about the whole. They're doing a really good job of getting attention to their podcast and the marketing. Everybody's viral, and you mentioned the Jets. Everybody was got a comment because everybody hates the Jets, including half the fan base. So it's interesting. Now, are there any like the one thing that we get a lot of comments on is like, well, just trade for this guy, and a lot of guys that people want to trade for. You mentioned it earlier. Are like the insurance plan for a playoff caliber team. Like if you're the 49ers and Brock Purdy's getting hurt doing this. I wouldn't trade Mac Jones. If I'm the Texans, I'm not trading Davis Mills. Like a lot of these guys, I'm not like the Eagles are different because Tanner McKee is completely unproven behind Jalen Hurts. But like a lot of these teams, I don't think it's not even like I'm not trading for him. And Tanner McKee is interesting because now it's like the flavor of the day. But like if you go and trade for him, I'm still going to sign Mariota or somebody else as well because if he bombs out, doesn't play well, I don't want a lost offense again.
Yeah, and I don't think that Glenn is going to want to sign off on someone like McKee. Like McKee's not proven enough to win games. Like at least Brissett, you can look at and say, okay, he's won some games in this league. There's a report with our offensive coordinator. It seems like, if Jimmy G were to go to the Cardinals and help install LaFleur's offense, then Brissett seemingly could be available. Like to me, he becomes the most realistic trade option. Really good, favorable contract would make a lot of sense.
Yep. Good leader, good mentor.
Yeah, everything about it just makes a ton of sense. Everyone else around the league, like I'm not giving up a 1st-round pick or a 2nd-round pick for Mac Jones. Same thing for Tanner McKee. Same thing for Davis Mills. Same thing for the Bears guy. Like, I don't know. It just seems like the Jets are kind of in a weird spot of not fans. I should say, it feels like Muji and Glenn are on 2 different timelines. Like Glenn needs to win now. Muji, I think as long as he has a good offseason, has secured his job for next year and will be able to choose his next coach in the event things go south this year. So I don't know. I hope Muji isn't tied to Glenn so that way he's not forcing a dumb decision with our draft picks and cap.
Excellent point. I think the same thing. I think Muji's established himself where quality trades, getting good. It seems like he's pretty respected with the moves he's making. And hopefully he can do it again this year with the draft and free agency. Now, the one thing I was worried about with the Jets and Woody Johnson is when things are this bad, they always need that splash move to either get headlines, sell tickets, just be relevant. Giants got Harbaugh. They got Jackson Dart. They got all this fanfare around them. The Jets are completely irrelevant right now. They're a laughing stock of the NFL. Nobody cares about them. I get worried right now because you can't sell a ticket, dude. Like, I have no desire to pay for a ticket to go see the Jets. None at all. That's when they do something stupid, do something splashy. Would Derek Carr be considered a splash move for the Jets? Like, hey, listen, we got a pretty good quarterback here, a name that everybody knows, like him or not, he's still legit. Like, is that a splash move or no?
I think it is. I think it's a splash move in the sense of the name recognition. I think, you could probably sell it to the locker room. I think you can sell it to the fan base. So there's some degree of excitement that comes with Derek Carr. Like, if you tell me, hey, we're getting Mariota in here, hey, we're getting Brissett in here, like that's not really going to jazz me up a whole lot. Like from a fan team building perspective, yeah, I think either one of those lower end price wise options is fine, but it's probably not selling tickets, which is what they may be trying to accomplish. So if there's a situation where you could say, hey, we brought in Anzalone, hey, we brought in Minkah Fitzpatrick, hey, we brought in Derek Carr, oh, we drafted the number 2 overall guy in Arvell Reese, and we got this receiver at 16. You start talking yourself up and building things up, and you're like, oh, and we've got 3 first-round picks next year. Like maybe there's a situation where they do go Ty Simpson. I think Woody's kind of keeping his hopes up for Arch Manning next year, or at least the draft class. So I think he's just trying to find sort of a Band-Aid for a year. Maybe you get a swing on Al-R or something like that that still gives you a little bit of hope behind the scenes. They could run the clips in preseason and training camp. But they're going to try and find something to get everyone excited about. And I think Carr is going to be the attempt that they swing at.
Yeah, I kind of agree with this comment here. I think if they go the lesser route, like to me, again, I would trade for Brissett now, 5th round pick, get him before free agency, at least have one guy in the building when you can try to make a pitch. You do that. But if just say you go Brissett and Dalton or whoever you go, to me, I get the feeling that, then they go, your glimmer of hope is going to be Ty Simpson. Now,
I agree.
Ty Simpson, the fan base and most NFL fans are completely divided. Some people love him as potential. Some people say he should stay back in school. Some people just say he sucks and he's completely overrated and he's small and whatever else. To be honest with you, I like him. I like Ty Simpson. I wish he went back to school, to be honest with you. I thought he would really have benefited from that. But he's got a lot of really good things in the right team, with the right team, the right coaching staff, and the right amount of patience too. Where it's like, here you are, you're going to sit and learn for a long friggin' time, dude. We may see you week 15, but that's probably as soon as I'm going to see you. And I don't care if we're 3-12 or 3, like he's not playing. But what are your thoughts on Ty Simpson?
So 2 of the people that I respect most in like the draft community, and this is, Connor Rodgers had.
Was it me or Brian? I think you froze. Did you freeze or did I freeze? I'm not sure who froze. Is it me or him? Ryan's frozen, right? Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was me or him. Let's see if he gets. I'm not sure. All right. Yeah, that sucks. He was just going to give his big take on Ty Simpson, and then it all. See, that's what Ty Simpson does to this fan base. He breaks us all up. So we'll see if he can get his stuff figured out real quick. You guys got questions? Got a question for me? I can answer some questions when he comes back on. I'm sure he'll come back on real quick. Let's see. He froze like our quarterbacks. Legend is good, man. Legend is, where is he? He's around the corner over there somewhere. He's been doing good, though. Ryan's good. The Jets broke Ryan. Dude, the funny thing is Ryan's my IT guy. Ryan's the one that always gives me all the insight on how to fix things. He fixed my camera. He fixed all my setups. So it's funny that he froze finally. It wasn't me. Can you hear the goat? Yeah. Ryan's gone Disney on us. I tell you what, I was really surprised that he's so big on Derek Carr. That definitely surprised me. Would I take Simpson at 16? I would not. But I would consider trading up from 33, though. I wouldn't. But the other thing, too, is now it's like depends on who you believe. A lot of people are saying that he may be gone before 16. So it's tough. I don't think I'd go 16, though. I think you're going to go pass rusher, whatever, at 2, go wide receiver at 16, and then see where it falls. But again, if you're that into Ty Simpson, I guess maybe you take him there. I don't know. Tremaine Edmonds, good player, really good player. I just want to find a way to get rid of Jamie and Sherwood. That'd be the most important thing for me. Wide receiver at 16, I have no problem with that. The thing about the wide receiver market, there's not a lot of guys available. There's like 5. I think we talked about it last night with Ian. There's like 5 or 6 people, and that's it. And the market is it's scarce. So Caleb Downs is interesting. Now you have all the reports about his health. Could that make him drop, or is that a team just kind of setting him back and kind of trying to put smoke in the air? Aller in round 2, I would not do that. I'm not the biggest fan of Aller. I was thinking maybe 4th round for him. A lot of these quarterbacks, it's like I wish the Jets had a 3rd round pick, but they don't. So I agree with this comment. I wish we had the balls to take Sonny Styles. I completely agree with this. I would love that move. Absolutely love it. I don't think the Jets would do that. And that's why I was kind of wondering, I asked Ryan if he would ask if you get a pass rusher in free agency, kind of maybe offset that need. So we'll see with that. Let's see. There's so many good wide receivers in this class. Yeah, you could do that too. See, I mean, well, you're tanked for Ty. That's why you want Ty Simpson in the second round. So who's the better option to go with at 2 if Aaron Glenn is sacked? I don't know. He's not going to be sacked. Okay, dude, who's your favorite wide receiver? I like Lemon, but I guess it's going to be at 16. You're not going to go at 2 unless you want to move up for him. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, I'm not a big Aller fan at all. What if Brady messes with the Jets and they're taking Mendoza, man? I'm not doing. That's all smoke. They're already selling tickets with Mendoza. They're not going to get rid of him. Yeah. We went through the Hackenberg experience with that. It's definitely true there. Let's see what else we got here. This chat's going so fast. Holy cow. I don't know how people do this. I don't know how Ian does this so fast. Let's see what we got here. I'm assuming people have forgotten the actual reason for Manning 97 draft. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole Parcells thing. I actually sat in my car listening to that. That was the crazy thing to see the Peyton Manning, his response. So now he had me scramble. He wanted to see me sweat a little bit. That's what you made me sweat. I had to answer draft questions.
I tried texting you, dude. My power just flickered and just went all over the place. Everything clicked off twice. I thought I was done. I'm back.
You're like, I listened to Connor Rodgers about Ty Simpson and boop. Everybody's like, what was his point? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know him that well.
So here's where I was going with that. 2 of the guys that I really like listening to as far as the draft goes, Connor Rodgers and Joe Blewett, and both guys really like Ty Simpson.
Yep.
There was a stretch of 8 games where this dude was considered either the first or second pick in the draft. And I'm fine if the Jets decide to make that selection at 16. I think 16 is at least at a point where if you didn't love Simpson after the year and you have a new head coach come in, you could possibly go quarterback in 2027. I don't think it necessarily removes it entirely from the conversation. Now, if they're gung-ho, we need him and we got to move up a little bit from 16 to get him, or, God forbid they're thinking about possibly pulling the trigger at number 2. I don't want to see that at all. My preferred route would be a day 2, day 3 pick at quarterback, but I could understand the allure of Simpson, and I wouldn't be upset with or be shocked by the pick of him at 16 at all.
Now, how much do you think the drop-off is from Simpson to the guys behind him? Do you think it's significant, or if they're – to me, if they're I don't say close, but in the same tier, and the Jets don't have a third-round pick, which sucks big time too. But it's how much of the drop-off do you think?
Yeah, I mean – I don't know. It's tough. There's guys that I like, and there's guys that I'm maybe hopeful for could get, maybe a little bit of a boost. So guys like Nussmeier and Klubnik, who were considered top end guys this time last year for this year's draft class, I think are super intriguing. Aller falls into that same conversation. Sure. He's got all the metrics in the world, but Dom likes to say, it looks like Tarzan plays like Jane.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like that. Every time he was in a big spot, it never looked like he delivered. Yep. When I look at Mendoza, I say, okay, this guy is clutch all the time. I would be one to go to the Raiders right now, and I would try to see if you could convince them to move out of number 1. They need so many things. I could see a situation where, if the Jets said, hey, we'll give you 3 ones to make the 1 pick flip, it'll be, whether it's both ones this year and 1 next year, or 3 ones over the next 3 years, or something along those lines. They're going to move Crosby probably for 2 firsts. I could see a situation where the Raiders have 5 to 7 firsts in the next 2-3 years, where they could really reset their team. And as much as people think Brady, he wants his quarterback, he's going to get his guy. And I think that's, 95%, 99% likely that's what's going to happen. If you told Brady you could rake the Jets over the coals and steal their war chest of picks, I think that's just as appealing to him, as well. There's a lot of people that thought Ty Simpson was a top-end guy. Who knows? Maybe the Raiders are happy with 16, a bunch of picks, and Ty Simpson as opposed to Mendoza at number 1 and not having the extra 3 picks. So I don't know. To answer your question, is there a big drop off from Ty Simpson? I'm not sure.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at too. Like I just don't like you take a flyer in the 4th round, cool. You want to take Nussmeier, cool, and have some kind of faith in Frank Wright. The kid could sit and learn and maybe catch something wonderful. It's not gonna, like you said, not gonna stop me next year from taking somebody else. Ty Simpson in the 1st round could muddy the waters a little bit because he's so inexperienced. Where you're like, you know what, maybe you got to give him his chance, but I mean, it's just I don't know. It's such a weird situation for the Jets, man. It's driving me crazy because there's just so many unknowns.
You should be able to get 4 starters in your first 4 picks, and to like pull the trigger on Simpson just feels a little like you might be okay. If you're pulling the trigger on Simpson, you have to be all right with the idea that pick may be burnt, and it may just be a backup. It may just be a non-working swing, but it's a swing you have to take if you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, and the thing is, the Jets have so many holes too. It's like, can you even afford to take that swing? You know, if you have your stabilizing force in Brissett or whoever, Carr, we can move that down the line a little bit and take a project guy.
100%, and
they should have did last year, to be honest with you.
Yep, 100% agree.
Drives me crazy. Now, I will preface this question by saying I'm an enormous Jeremiah Love fan. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I think Love's probably one of the best players in the draft. It's not even close. I think he's that good. What are your thoughts on the whole Breece Hall being tagged scenario?
So I think it was the right move. I would have been pretty frosted if we just let him walk in free agency after not trading him at the deadline. And I didn't really want to move him at the deadline either. I thought the right move was always to franchise tag him or transition tag him in this offseason. And my thought process is whoever is quarterback, whether it's a young rookie coming in or, maybe it's your trial of a mid-round guy or a vet coming in, I think it makes sense to hold on to your best playmaking players. Now, I say that also with the realization that Breece may not take a snap on this team. I can see a situation where they trade Breece during training camp. I could definitely see a situation where they trade him at the deadline if the Jets aren't performing well. Another team's running back goes down due to injury and they're a little more desperate to get a guy. We could showcase Breece maybe with a better quarterback, and you can kind of up his trade value from where it was last year. I think what's going to happen is Breece will sign a 3-year contract. It's going to be comparable to the franchise tag in year 1 where, maybe it's a $20 million signing bonus. He's going to get, a nice chunk of money now, but his contract's going to be incredibly favorable to trade him at the deadline. So you can have that conversation with him and say, hey, look, we want you here. We want to prove that you're here. We're going to pay you like you're on the franchise tag. But if it doesn't work out, we need to get assets for you. And it makes sense to move you to a good team that'll give up those assets on a favorable contract. And I think that's the middle ground that they meet on. And I'm okay with that. I think that's a smart leverage play. I think that's exactly what they did with Sauce. Not that they articulated that with Sauce, but I think that's what Muji had. There's a reason why Sauce had a trigger for his contract on the first day of free agency. And it was because Muji had the forethought to say, hey, if this goes south real quick, we can make a move at the deadline if we needed to.
Yeah.
And I think that's similar to what they're going to do with Breece.
I think they're going to have to do that with Breece. I kind of think the same thing. I think they're saying all the right things, but I think if they get an opportunity to ship them out, they're probably going to. And they're like, oh, it's just we got to offer too good to refuse. That's, and to be honest with you, I think Breece wants that too. I think he wants that change of scenery too, but he's kind of stuck where the Jets have all the leverage on him. So it is what it is. Now, in terms of the draft, well, let's look at this. Free agency, who would be your first 3 phone calls you make?
First 3 phone calls. First one would be a safety, I think. And I don't know exactly which one I would want to go with. Minka's name kind of pops up just because Duker was with him last year and he's a local kid. But, honestly, Brisker would be fine. Carl would be fine. I would take any one of those guys. I think Anzalone makes a lot of sense because there's mutual interest there. So I think he's probably a phone call that you make. And then if I had to pick one more, I don't know. I'm not.
You're fired.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not super high on a lot of the free agents. I think a lot of them are it would be cool to get JFM back, but he's probably going to the Titans. There's not many guys that I think are going to be attracted to the Jets. So I think we're going to shop in the tier 2, tier 3 type of guys for the most part. And then it's really safety is going to be the one that we spend money on outside of whatever Anzalone gets.
Now, what are your thoughts in terms of the draft? We talked about Reese a little bit and Bailey. What are your thoughts on Bain? I don't think it's an option at 2, but what are your thoughts on Bain?
I think once we started seeing the shift maybe closer to a 3-4, I think that sort of eliminated Bain before like the combine and the short arms and everything like that. Like everyone thought Bain had short arms to begin with. I'll be honest, if they wanted to take him and they thought he fit the scheme, he's a dog. Like I'm not going to like not like him because his arms are an inch shorter, but it is a historical outlier type of scenario. And Muji, when he was in Denver, did have a few comments that alluded to maybe not taking a player that has those historical outliers, and you have to maybe follow traits that have been successful in the NFL. But he also, had the caveat of if the guy plays football and you've seen a lot of tape on him, then like the guy can play football. So I don't know. I don't think Bain's going to be in our wheelhouse just because of us having the option of every player. Let another team kind of take the risk on maybe that outlier trait.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that he has that dog in him, and I think that's something the Jets need overall out of their free agent class and the draft class. Like you need leaders, guys that love the game of football, passionate, physical, nasty. Like you got that's how you change your culture, not by press conferences and talking about it. All these little cute T-shirts don't mean shit. Like you need guys that just like you have Brownlee came in, like he has it. Harrison Phillips, Briggs, like you could see a different. Even Membu for a rookie showed you that side where like he's nasty. You need a lot more of those guys, and that's I'm hoping that Aaron Glenn at least learned that lesson last year to change their kind of philosophy going into their free agency this year.
Yeah, if you told me we could come out of the draft, like I'm looking at 16, and as much as I want a receiver, if there's a situation where Downs slides a little bit because of the injury, like I'm jumping all over Downs on 16.
Yep.
So, you could go, probably Reese and Downs, or maybe Sonny Styles and Downs, Bailey and Downs, something like that.
Yep. As
much as like I'd love to see some more energy put into the offensive side of the ball, this defense was absolutely terrible. And you kind of set the tone of like, hey, this is what a New York Jet defense is. And you get your top end guys. I think you could get a receiver at the top end of the second round, and I think you'd be feeling pretty good. But I agree with you. I think you need some like snarling type dogs that are like absolutely setting a tone where we feel like from the last regime and the holdovers that were here, it's just you kind of got to purge some of the rest of that out.
Yeah, you got to stop getting pushed around now. Start flexing back and standing up for yourself as an organization, and that comes from the locker room. That's not the coaches anymore. It's like the locker room has to give you that pushback. Now, what is a reasonable expectation going into free agency? Like we're all saying, listen, they got $100 million of cap space, they got all this stuff. Wonderful. What's a realistic expectation for this team? Like I'm hoping they're aggressive. I hope they don't, day one doesn't come and go and like, oh, they almost got, which they lead the league in every year. I hope it's not the case where they have to pay the Jets tax, pay it, but get some elite talent if possible. Is that a fair expectation or no?
I don't know how much elite talent is going to be coming in here. I think you might get lucky if you can do some trades. Like I know O'Leary had brought up maybe the idea of trading for Jesse Bates if he was potentially going to get cut from a salary cap perspective. I brought up Rashawn Gary. Like those are the types of players I would look for because they're on captive contracts. They can't say no to you the way a free agent can. And I'd rather overpay. I shouldn't say overpay, but I'd rather trade a late round pick like how we did with Brownlee, how we did with Harrison Phillips, how we did with Briggs, and try to bring in talent on a contract that other teams might be trying to, get rid of. That will be kind of favorable to us compared to like what we might have to pay on an open market. Like if we had to try and go after Rashawn Gary, in free agency, he might get more than what his current contract is on a trade. Same thing with Minkah Fitzpatrick, same thing with Jesse Bates. So that's sort of how I would like to see us spend our late round picks and free agent space. But if that's not the case, then I would say I'd like to see them bring in a lot of the tier 2, tier 3 guys and round out the depth part of this roster. Like if you can get a lot of guys that are like space fillers on the, backup part of the roster, you have an injury go down. Well, it's not as big of a drop going from, Tyrod Taylor to the Brady Cook or whatever. Like you kind of lessen that blow a little bit is what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean, you need just overall better depth on this team. It seems like once the drop-off was significant, you saw it. It was like a JV team out there. You're like, this is just – they're not even playable at this point. So last question for you, the easiest question is going into this exciting period of, you have free agency, you got the draft. What are your expectations for this team this year? Are you going in like, listen, just get playmakers. I don't really care. This is going to be a 5-win, maybe 5 wins, but you're looking eyes towards 2027. Is that kind of your mindset? Or are you like, hey, you know what? Maybe we could surprise, we get the right guys, and maybe we can find a way to get 8 wins.
So I'm definitely setting my expectation level pretty low. I do think 5 wins is probably what we wind up getting, but I want to see the growth and development from young players. I want to see the offensive line gel together. I want to see who we bring in free agency in the draft. And it's not that I wouldn't be looking forward to watching each game. I just want to be entertained each game. I don't want to go through the last 5 weeks of the season and lose by 35 points or 23 points, whatever the number was each and every game. Like, to me, if you told me I could go into this season and I could lose 44 to 48 every single game, like, fine, I'm entertained. And like, we wind up in a position to get a quarterback at the top of next year's draft. Even if we don't use all our salary cap space this year, we want to roll some of that into next year. I'm fine with that too. I just want to see us make the right selections and do the right thing. And that's why I think Muji's footing on this team needs to be so much more secure than whatever Glenn's is.
Yep, I agree. I completely agree. That's kind of where I'm at too. Like, I'm disheartened. Like, anybody watches my channel that I've been just pissed off about everything for like almost a year now. I wanted Glenn fired. I'm just so discouraged. And like, if we could walk away at the end of this year and be like, you know what, we just saw 7 players improve. Okay, we're seeing like, and the young players like rising it. Like, all right, now we have a vision and a blueprint that maybe this coaching staff has something here. We're seeing development and competition, and you're seeing fight. And okay, I can buy into it. Anything less than that, blow Glenn out and move on. And like I said, Muji's, as of today, has done some really encouraging things. And I hope they're not tied together where it's not a package deal. It's like, hey, you can keep him and let's just move on. But it's so discouraging, man. This has probably been the roughest offseason for me because you just don't have any faith in the coaching staff. Even like, I like Frank Reich, I like Dunbar, I like some of the guys, but it's like, overall, in the back of your mind, you're like, is this really going to work? Because it's still Aaron Glenn, who seems like he's in over his head.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if Muji didn't make the trade of Sauce and Quinnen and we didn't have 5 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks over the next 2 years. Like, that would just be so much worse of a situation. I think at the very least right now, I would say I feel much more optimistic about the team moving forward today than I did 1 year ago when we just had Glenn coming in and we didn't know what was going on. Like, to me, all hope was lost last year. And I think the plan was initially to draft your quarterback this season, thinking that this draft class would have more guys in it. It just wound up kind of fizzling out. Nussmeier didn't impress. Klubnik didn't impress. Allard got hurt and didn't impress early on in his season. Moore went back to school. So, Mensa went back to school. So I think you're kind of in this weird situation where, maybe you don't necessarily don't take a quarterback. If you like a guy and he's there, pull the trigger. It's fine, Yeah. But I think this is more of a roster building year and just kind of see development out of the young guys. And I want to see things improve. And I'm not asking for the world here.
Should have been last year, by the way. It should have been last year. Last year was the year you do this.
Last year was a lot of like, let's see what the roster is. Like I think Jermaine Johnson, AVT, those were the prove it years for those guys.
Yeah.
I think, coming in and seeing, like, not spending a lot in free agency last year. Let's see who's on the roster. Let's see who can stick before we invest a lot of money into a specific position. So I think last year had to happen. I just think a lot of people wanted to see Glenn get a little bit more wins and feel more sure about our head coach than, being a year in and feeling like half the fan base wants to fire him.
Yeah. Well, he has to actually show he can coach. I mean, the little things. Head coach coaching actually helps once in a while. Just
a little bit of a hiccup there.
I was off the rails, man. Be glad you didn't. I was off the rails. I couldn't take it, man. It's just been too much for me. So before I let you go, man, first of all, I told you 45 minutes. We did over an hour, so I apologize for that. But you guys always crush up your draft coverage. Tell me what you're doing for the draft this year.
Yeah, so this year we're doing a live show in Hoboken. We're doing $25, get you in the door, get you your first drink. It's going to be myself, O'Leary, and Green Bean over at the Texas Arizona Bar and Grill.
That's a good time.
23 feet from the PATH train. You can just walk right over from the PATH train. There's tons of parking garages around there. It's $5 draft beers, well drinks, 50% off apps. Going to have the live show, going to have the crowd cam going as well. So we'll still be doing our live draft coverage on a live stream, but also like hanging out with people in person is a pretty good time. We didn't get to do it last year in person. So it's fun to kind of bring it back this year. So we're looking forward to it.
Your draft streams are incredible, dude. They are so good. And it's just like endless. And Green Bean just goes out of his mind. It's like, it's must watch. It's a must watch. It is. And especially when he gets the guy he wants and he freaks out. It's perfect.
It really is a lot of fun. We keep going back and forth as far as like, is there a player that could be selected that would really like have us like jaw drop or be like upset about? And I think the only one would be like Ty Simpson at 2. I think almost any other position at any other pick would kind of be like, oh, okay, I can see it. That makes sense.
Yep. No, 100%.
But I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. It's just nice to see that we have so many draft picks and so much could improve on this team through just one off season.
All right. So March 5th, you're telling me Derek Carr is going to be the starting quarterback.
I think as of today, Derek Carr will be the week 1 starter for the New York Jets.
Oof. Well, Brian, first of all, everybody knows who you are. Jets Talk 24/7. You know his channel. He's taught me everything. I look up to him. I got to learn from him. I try to follow. He's a professional guy with all the insight. I'm just a chaos. But thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. I'm sure everybody already follows you. And I can't wait I may have to go to this party. That's a good time.
You're absolutely invited. We got your ticket. Don't you worry about it.
That's
just let me know you want to come.
Texas, Arizona is a good time. I got to think about this. That's not bad at all. What time does it start?
I think we're going to start at like 6:30 because I think the draft starts at like 8 or 8:30 or something along those lines. So we'll probably start going live around 7:30, and then we'll be going right through the end of the draft. So you better believe if you're over there, we're gonna drag your ass on to get your take.
Yeah, no, I'll be having the fireball shots in the corner somewhere, just hiding.
Even better.
I think we hung out at the party, the Fireman Ed party, the brewery. That was a rough one.
Oh, it was great. Absolutely awesome. I could sit and tailgate with like you and Blue at any day of the week.
It's a good time, man. Well, Brian, again, thank you for your time. I know it's 10 o'clock on a Thursday, so I appreciate it. Make sure everybody already follows you, but Jets Talk 24/7. Thank you, man. Thank you guys for watching on a Thursday, too. We appreciate it. And enjoy your weekend. You never know. We may have a quarterback by next weekend, so talk to you guys later.
Fingers crossed.
Jet!